Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your MC for the evening, Jennifer Tatamira Ward-Leyland.
Kai aku nui, kai aku rahi, tēnā rā koutou katoa. Nau mai, hara mai ki tēnei whari whakaari i tēnei pō whakahirahira, hei whakanui a koutou nei mahi hoahoanga whare. Me mihi ka tika ki te haukainga ki a ngai tahu, nāna nei te mana whenua o tēnei takiwā, nō reira e te iwi tēnā koe, e te kai karakia, e te kai mihi, tēnā koutou ko te iwi, nō reira he mihi tēnei ki a koutou katoa. Nō reira tēnā koutou, tēnā rā tātou katoa. Kia ora, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the New Zealand Architecture Awards. Tonight we will be celebrating the best architecture of 2020 and recognising those who have contributed to the progress of architecture in New Zealand. I am delighted to be here in person in Ōtautahi, Christchurch, after presenting all of the regional awards virtually, a first in my career. But we are still in unusual times, and for the first time in the Institute's history, we are live streaming this event out to other branches of the Kāhui Whaihanga so that more members can take part in celebrating the New Zealand Architecture Awards. Let's visit a few of those branches streaming in and say kia ora. We've got Auckland, Tāmaki Makaurau. Kia ora, Tāmaki Makaurau. Lovely wave from you all. And over to Wellington, Te Whanganui Atara. Kia ora, Pōneke. Kia ora, Wellington. I love this. And way down in the south at Queenstown, Tāhuna. How's everyone in Queenstown? Kia ora. Lovely. And although we don't have a live camera there, I want to send a big mihi atu ki whakatū to Nelson, who are all watching in from Art House Architects. Kia ora, everybody in Nelson. Now, before the celebrations commence, can I just deal with a few housekeeping issues, because we have to do that stuff. So for those of you in Christchurch, would you please note your nearest exit? Bathrooms are located on the ground floor, behind the bar. And please take a moment to locate your nearest exit. They're the obvious ones with the green running man. And this applies to wherever you are watching from. In some cases, the exit may be behind you. So if you do need to evacuate the building, please make your way calmly towards that exit. And of course, please do turn off your mobile phone or put them onto silent mode. Why? Because you just don't want to be that person, do you? Where everybody gives you that look. Health and safety legislation requires some instruction on what to do in the event of a fire or earthquake, and I'm sure you people in Christchurch are no strangers to this. If the fire alarm does sound in the building, please proceed without delay to a safe exit and head to the assembly point at the front of the building. In the case of an earthquake, do not exit the building while it's shaking. Drop, cover, and hold wherever you are, and remain there until you receive instructions from a venue emergency warden. And on to other matters, a photographer is present tonight in Ōtautahi, Christchurch, Te Whanganui Atara, Wellington, in Tāmaki Makaurau, in Auckland. Please take the opportunity to visit the photo board throughout the night in the pre-function area and have a photo taken with your team. It's something to celebrate this evening. Those photos will be available from the NZIA website to download from next week. E te whānau, I would now like to welcome to the stage the President of Te Kāhui Whaihanga New Zealand Institute of Architects, Judy Keith Brown.
Well, here we are. No mai, haere mai, kia ora e hoa mā. No kotarana oku tupuna. No otutahi, aho. Ko Judy Keith Brown, aho. Good evening and welcome to the 2020 New Zealand Architecture Awards. To all of you here in Ōtautahi, and to everyone watching live across Aotearoa, Thank you for being here tonight. Last year, the weather stopped many of you from attending the awards in Queenstown. And this year, COVID made us wonder if an awards event would take place at all. But thanks to technology and a prudent pandemic response from our government, we are lucky to be able to celebrate the best of our architecture and our people tonight, here in real life. Not in a virtual world, but in real life. It was always the plan to announce this year's awards in Otutahi, Christchurch, and it is amazing to be doing so in this much loved and splendidly restored town hall. This evening, it is my pleasure to extend a warm welcome to the 2020 awards jury, to those nominated for the awards, and most importantly, to the clients who have had the tremendous courage to invest financially and personally in their buildings. As we all know, I definitely know, the relationship between client and architect is vital to achieving great results. To this year's clients, thank you for your support, your vision and your passion. The New Zealand Architecture Awards acknowledge achievement and encourage excellence. But their most important role is to show all the ways good architecture can make a difference to people's lives. The projects you will see acknowledged tonight are all examples of how architecture can inspire us, improve our well-being, and enrich our communities in so many intangible ways. Our awards happen because of a committed and loyal partner, Resine. This is the 30th year of our relationship with Resine, our Pearl anniversary, which is appropriate because this partnership is rare, precious, and one of a kind. Thank you to Resine, who tonight are represented by John Gerondis, and thank you too to Nick Nightingale, John, Paul, Craig, and the rest of the team for consistently and generously partnering with us to deliver this awards program. I hope Scarlett Nightingale, who's a third-year architecture student at Vic, is watching this in Wellington tonight. Finally, thank you to the Te Kāhui Whaihanga practices who have entered the awards this year, to the clients for allowing their projects to be put forward, and to the Te Kāhui Whaihanga team who have organised the awards program and tonight's events. Thanks also to all the love and support I've received since I took over the presidency from Tim Melville, who's sitting in the front row tonight, hey Tim, in May, during lockdown on May the 19th. It's been a strange time, but we're getting there. Lastly, I'd like to offer one very important thank you to Te Kāhui Whaihanga Chief Executive, Tina Hill Pennington. Tina has provided our team with guidance and stability throughout this year of unprecedented changes and has been a clear, calm leader and a true friend to all of us during this time. Tina works tirelessly, multitasks effortlessly, and is an unfailing advocate for architects, architecture, and Aotearoa. On behalf of us all, thank you, Tina. And on that note, thank you all for being here with us tonight. I hope you really enjoy your evening, and it is now my pleasure to welcome John Gerondis from Resine to the stage to say a few words.
Well, indeed, here we are. Kia ora tātou, and in the language of my Greek ancestors, Yasas Jecharasas. Good health and joy to you. Good evening, and a very warm welcome on behalf of Resine. It is indeed great to be here. It's great to join with friends in an evening of celebration. A celebration of the very best in New Zealand architecture. The very best. It's easy to say, very hard to deliver. I was chatting with Louise of Assembly Architecture this morning, at Wellington Airport, of all places. She commented that tonight's award was one of the few national awards that Assembly have been up for. They're difficult to get. We both agreed that's how it should be. For it's the very best that strengthens the value of New Zealand architecture. The very best that secures its future in an ever-changing and demanding society. At Resine, we strive every day to deliver our very best offer to the industry. And a key driver for us achieving our best is our partnership with the architectural community. We're extremely proud of our partnership with the New Zealand Institute of Architects and the contribution that this partnership has made to the development of the New Zealand Architecture Awards program. Over the 30 years that we've been privileged to be involved, it certainly is a program that has risen in its presence in the industry, and it's incredibly important that it continues to grow and make its presence even more pronounced. We look forward to continuing our support of that development and enjoying the journey as it develops. An awards program such as this recognises, rewards architectural excellence and its contribution to our New Zealand built environment. The very best. It's great to support, and it's certainly worthy of celebration. So finally, on behalf of Resine, may I commend all participants in this year's awards program, and it's certainly congratulations to tonight's award winners. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you, John and Judy. One of the privileges of the NZIA presidency is the chance to acknowledge the people making exceptional contributions to the profession as a whole. Judy has 4 President's Awards to bestow this evening, and this year's recipients are diverse indeed. A heritage architect, a great teacher, a feminist architect, and an amazing team of landscape architects. Could the recipients please come to the stage to receive the award when they are announced? The first President Award goes to Bruce Petrie, heritage practitioner and advocate. Bruce Petrie was a passionate, knowledgeable and outspoken advocate for the causes in which he believed. He made a huge contribution in the field of heritage architecture and was unfailingly generous with his advice and assistance. His gift for friendship was deeply appreciated throughout and well beyond the architectural community. In the wider civic realm, Bruce's courage and commitment were evident in his prominent role in the struggle for gay rights and his advocacy on behalf of those suffering from HIV/AIDS. Bruce is sorely missed and very fondly remembered. Ian Petrie is here tonight to receive this award on behalf of his brother Bruce.
Thank you. To say my brother had a passion for heritage architecture would be an understatement. He lived and breathed it every day, and I'm very thankful to be here to receive this on his behalf. He would be truly honoured. Thank you.
Our next award goes to Robin Skinner, Senior Lecturer, Wellington School of Architecture, Victoria University of Wellington, Te Herenga Waka. Robin Skinner has been a model of a committed academic and engaged public intellectual for more than 20 years. He has played a full part in the life of the Wellington School of Architecture. Generations of students at the school have benefited from Robin's teaching and guidance, and he has made a significant contribution in the fields of architectural history and theory. Robin's collegial values and generous disposition are also evident in his service to cultural institutions such as the Adam Art Gallery and the Turnbull Library, and his promotion of the public discussion of architecture. The profession owes Robin a debt of gratitude for advancing the cause of architecture in Aotearoa, New Zealand.
Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. Kia ora, Jennifer. I'd like to thank the President and all of Kāhui Whaihanga for this award. It's most unexpected and I really feel humbled and grateful for this recognition. I'm also really pleased that this year architectural education is being recognised. It's been a tough year. It's been a strange year. If you had told me 12 months ago that this year would be characterised by the expression, that would be encapsulated by the expression, turn your mic on, it's in the bottom left-hand corner. We've all been there. It's been our year, it continues to be our year, and it unites the world in a shared experience. It's been a tough year. It's been a strange year. In architectural education, it's really been challenging in a remarkable way. And I want to acknowledge the administrators and the teachers and the students who have made it work. And it's taken a lot of work, it's taken a lot of extra work and extra time and a lot of creativity to ensure that the next generation of students come to practice with the skills and the understanding they need. And I especially want to thank, well, the people who run the architecture schools, the tutors, who really drive the schools, who do so much to communicate their lessons and skills and their understanding of the discipline for this coming generation. So if any of you are looking to employ anyone in the coming years, study the CVs and look for the line, architectural tutor, because those people have the skills and the ability to do a lot extra, to be creative and ensure that people learn and that they can communicate in our new environment. So thank you so much for this. It's terribly, terribly generous. Thank you.
Congratulations. Our next President's Award goes to Fiona Cristella, Director, Fiona Cristella Architect. For more than 30 years, Fiona Cristella has forged her own way in New Zealand architecture. She has run her own practice, contributed significantly to the profession as an assessor of 2 decades standing for the Registered Architects Board, and taught at Victoria University's School of Architecture. Fiona has consistently engaged in the civic realm as an architect, urban designer, and citizen. She has always challenged herself as an architect and designer and has demonstrated admirable fortitude in pursuing a career as a female practitioner in what, for much of her working life, has been an unsympathetic professional environment. Fiona is accomplished, determined, and enterprising, and an inspiration to all young people setting out on a career in architecture. Fiona Cristella is receiving her award in the Te Whanganui-a-Tara Wellington branch, so let's cross there now. Congratulations.
I'm at that age where you need glasses. Hey, good evening, everyone. Like Robin Skinner said, it's an unexpected and an enormous privilege Huge thanks to you, Judy, to everyone involved in the NZIA, both paid and voluntary, and to everyone working in the profession of architecture who is making better spaces and places for people. So thank you for honouring me. That's the beginning. When I arrived at architecture school in the mid-1970s, before half of you were born, it was male-dominated, it was sexist, and it was patronising. One of the senior professors believed biologically that women shouldn't be architecture students and we were taking up precious places for men because, as I said, biologically, women were not able to dream in colour and therefore could not be good architects. But I could dream in colour. So began a quest by several women students and I to prove him wrong. And with the feminist movement of the 70s and 80s as our backing, we went there. When I graduated, I was one of 6 women out of a class of 72, so that's 8%. When I registered, women registered architects were 3% of the profession. So look what a generation has changed. After a couple of years of living and working in Auckland, I moved to Wellington determined to be recognised as a serious woman architect. I leased shared space in the city. I formed a limited liability company and called it Fiona Christella Architects. At the time, Ath was called Ian Athfield Architect, and I thought that was a jolly good model. And I put in place processes which meant that I could work at the same time as having children and that I'd be able to grow the practice in order to do public work. 40 years on, I'm still working part-time and I still love it. I'm proud of my family. I'm proud of Nigel Oxley, who's been an equal half in everything, both at home and in work. Architecture was part of our family life, and both children and their partners now work with people and how they use spaces. A performance producer, an architect, and 2 architecturally trained urban designers. We have marvellous holidays. I'm very proud of all the work we did in both the public and the private realm, and the practice was able to cope with 100 school projects during the time that we ran the office. And 4 of those were Kura Kaupapa Māori, which was really special, and the several urban design projects that we did for local territorial authorities was also really exciting and memorable. We entered awards and we won some, and I'm really proud of that. I'm also proud that many of our staff and our clients were women, including Angela. So thank you, Angela. Over 40 years, times have changed. I'm now so impressed by the generation of women architects who are working today at so many levels. Across New Zealand society, women are taking leadership roles. And it's fantastic in the architectural profession that the CEO and the president of the NZIA are both women, and that the CEO and the board chair of NZRAB are as well. In some famous words, I'd like to say, let's keep it moving. We do still have lots of problems in society in getting more diversity and more equality in things other than gender, and I hope that let's get it moving applies to that. So finally, as architects, we have got the ability to influence the well-being of people on a long-term basis by making sure that everything we design and build is beautiful, has a degree of flexibility for the future, and takes notice of context and environment. So thank you again.
Congratulations, Fiona. Our final award goes to Raitt and Associates, landscape architects and urban designers. Megan Raitt and Nicole Thompson established Raitt and Associates in 2003, and since then, their team has produced some of our finest pieces of landscape design, carefully crafted designs that belong to Aotearoa and feel like they have always been here. Raitt and Associates have worked closely with many architects across the country, helping to tie our buildings into our landscapes using cultural, historical and natural references to inform their designs. This award recognises that good design comes from a good team, all working together, but it especially recognises the vibrant and remarkable person who put this team together. Megan Raitt, who died recently after a long illness, working to the last moment with Nicole and the rest of her admirable team. Nicole Thompson is receiving this award on behalf of the Raitt and Associate team in Wellington, so we are crossing back to Pōneke right now.
Kia ora koutou, ngā mihi, mahana. Thank you so much for that warm welcome. I'm going to get all teary now. I thought I was going to be really, hold it together, but I've left the hard bits for Dickon. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a principal here in our Wellington studio, and we'd just like to say some thank yous, if that's okay. Firstly, thank you to NZIA President Judy Keith-Brown. It's with huge delight that we here of the Wellington branch accept this award on behalf of our practice, which includes our Auckland studio. Shout out to Nathan, Hugh, Felix, Michael and Michaela. Hello, hope you guys are having a good time in the Auckland event. And also, of course, if you look up, it closes the tear ducts apparently. Also Megan, who, as you've just heard, is no longer with us, but I'm sure she's here in spirit. In fact, I'm sure she's at every event looking for gossip, so if you've got any, please feel free to share. A massive thanks to NZIA. We've had the very good fortune of working with many of your best on a fantastically diverse range of projects. To our various co-conspirators over the years, our deepest thanks to you for your generosity of spirit, for your patience, and you've had to exercise it quite a bit on the odd occasion, and your clever ways. Not a project goes by that we don't learn something new, so thank you. Now I'm handing over to Dickon for the hard bit.
Hopefully not too hard. Kia ora. Obviously acknowledging Megan, the strength, the drive that she had. We wouldn't be here today without her. And I think it's been a troubling year, or a challenging year for everybody really. And we probably need to say a really special thanks to Athfields and to Tenant Brown for really supporting us over the last couple of months, and to everybody here in many respects as well that have supported us as a practice. So thanks very much.
And congratulations to all of the recipients of the 2020 President's Award. We would now like to present a special award, our Te Kāhui Whaihanga New Zealand Institute of Architects Distinguished Fellow Award. This award is made to an NZIA Fellow who has been an exceptional influence on and contributor to architecture in New Zealand. There can be no more than 10 Distinguished Fellows at any time. The Distinguished Fellow Award recipient is Bill Allington. Bill Allington's career is marked by a deep and abiding commitment to the social role of architecture, manifested in his architectural project, but is also in his teaching and in the long conversations that so many colleagues have found so enlightening down through the years. Over the course of a career which spanned the second half of the 20th century, Bill designed a range of much awarded civic buildings and a broad variety of smaller scaled community and church-related projects. All demonstrated a sensitive humanism appropriate to their scale and program. Bill brought the benefits of good design to many community groups for whom architecture might otherwise have been out of reach. His own house is one of the outstanding works of New Zealand modernism, its merit sufficiently undeniable that it was accorded Historic Place Category 1 status. Bill demonstrated a deep professional commitment throughout his career. He served as an NZIA councillor, vice president and branch chair, And as assistant editor of the NZIA Journal, he contributed significantly to the Architectural Centre in Wellington and to the founding of the Architecture School at Victoria University of Wellington. His teaching of architectural history and in the design studio inspired generations of students. In all aspects of his work, Bill has given exemplary service to his profession and to New Zealand architecture. Kia ora, Bill. Congratulations. I'll hold that for you.
Madam Chairman, or Madam President rather, and fellow guests, I am still surprised to find myself here this evening. When I was notified of this award, I wasn't sure that you had it right, but I'll take it. I've had quite a long career in architecture, and along the way I have had the honour and privilege and enjoyment of working with so many people who have helped and contributed to what success I have enjoyed. These include my colleagues from the Ministry of Works days, my partners in many iterations of private practice, and the Victoria University School of Architecture, all of which has brought me much pleasure, and I have been involved in the formation of young architects' minds and hearts, and to be involved like that is really a great pleasure and a great privilege. Some of you are here tonight, and it's a joy to see you progressing in your careers. Of course, I must thank my family and my late wife, Margaret, whose support has counted for everything. When I look at New Zealand architectural journals, I'm amazed at the diversity and quality of the buildings being designed. I feel now that, as my predecessors must have felt when we, as young architects, embraced the modern movement and left behind the old ways. I can only watch and marvel at the skills and creativity of the next generations and feel heartened that architecture is in good hands and in good health. We can always learn from the past, of course, and in spite of embracing modernism, I have looked to the medieval as a model of how to work. I believe we have lost something fundamental in the separation of the architect from the construction process. The medieval model of working was an integrated model. It really was. A master architect, builder at the helm, guiding all aspects of the work, resulted in buildings of great beauty and great integrity. And I think of Saint-Denis, Lichfield, and Beauvais, for example. We continue to enjoy and admire the fruits of their labours. We can only hope that our own efforts might be as lasting and influential, and that remains a worthy aspiration. I would like to thank the committee of the New Zealand Institute of Architects for recognising me tonight. I'm truly honoured that you have chosen me to receive this Distinguished Fellow Award, and I'm humbled by your recognition. Thank you.
Judy, you're going no, stay here. I'll take that. While I hand over to Judy, who is going to acknowledge the jury.
Thanks, Bill. One of the things that Tina is realising about me is that I do know a lot of people, a lot of architects around New Zealand, full range of ages, full type of, all these different types of architects. It's one of the joys of being an architect in New Zealand. The New Zealand Architecture Awards jury faced extraordinary circumstances this year and showed no inconsiderable mettle by agreeing to visit the shortlisted projects amid a pandemic. However, it is this uncompromising commitment to experiencing buildings in the flesh that makes our awards so special. Providing our jurors with the opportunity to be there on the ground is crucial to the rigour of the Te Kāhui Whaihanga Awards. Te Kāhui Whaihanga would like to thank the 2020 jurors for their time, their energy, and their expertise. Please welcome to the stage jury convener Michael Thompson and jurors Linda Simmons, Fiona Short, and Anthony Hoiti, who is the Kiwi International juror from London.
Tēnā koutou katoa. Ko mongare te monga. Ko tamaki te awa. Ko architectus tōku whānau. Ko Michael Thompson tōku inoa. I did that without my glasses. That was remarkable. As you can see from the large sign behind me, my name is Michael Thompson. And it's been my pleasure and privilege to be the convener of the NZIA Resine New Zealand Awards. One of the pleasures of being convener is you get to choose 3 people to spend a week with travelling the country looking at architecture. You know. When I was asked to be convener, I immediately started putting my jury together in my head. And my first choice was the overseas juror, a friend who I have known since working in London together, a very good architect who has worked with all the best architects in Melbourne. Therein, of course, is the problem. And the attendance of my friend Nigel Fitton became a victim of COVID. But I would like to acknowledge him, and he will be watching this when it gets posted on the website. We did manage to find a reasonably adequate replacement. Hang on, now I have to do this, don't I? So the jurors. First, the wonderful Linda Simmons, who, as well as being an excellent architect, was co-founder of Architecture Plus Women, an organisation that has done at least as much for diversity and inclusion as other initiatives, and has been doing it in style for 14 years with minimal funding. So if you're wondering where to direct your sponsorship money for next year, Linda is also an exponent of freestyle Scottish country dancing, and is here introducing Anthony to the art on a very windswept shore of Lake Tekapo. The equally wonderful Fiona Short. I missed a slide here, never mind. she's seen here doing something not quite natural with a donut. I don't know what. You'll have noted by now that all the jurors are adhering to the architect's dress code. In fact, I prepared for the tour by the simple expedient of packing 8 black t-shirts. But 5 days into the tour, Fiona suddenly appeared, resplendent in gold, or mustard if you're being unkind. It at least gave a great photo opportunity on one of our visits. I attempted to add my own touch of colour to the proceedings, and yes, I know I appear to have legs coming out of my nose. But the look of terror in my eyes was caused by the fact that our overseas judge, on the basis of a few hours solo flying some 30 years ago, had decided he was qualified to be co-pilot in our 6-seater Cessna. We did survive. Yes, Professor Dr. Anthony Hueta, returning to New Zealand after a 30-year OE with perfect timing. He literally came out of isolation 4 days before we headed off on our tour. He brought gravitas and dignity to our deliberations and was prepared to go to any lengths to get to the bottom, or in this case, the top of a project. I have no idea what he's doing there. It's impossible. Seriously, they were a great jury and our discussions were always humorous and agreeable. The buildings, the quality was very high this year and none more so than in the housing category, as often happens, where we had an impossible choice. There are at least 10 projects that we would have been comfortable to give New Zealand awards to, but we had to choose 5. To the ones that missed out, I can only offer my apologies. It was a very tough choice, and certainly Linda agonised over it for several weeks. I think she probably still is agonising over it. The only other comment I want to make is about sustainability. With a few notable exceptions, the sustainability statements were pretty average. They're pretty useless, actually. I mean, copy and pasting from other projects and simply saying that we have used high levels of insulation and LED lights doesn't cut it. We have to engage more with the issues of carbon emissions, both embodied and whole of life, individually and collectively. The Institute made submissions to the MBIE Building for Climate Change document, which is great, but we need to be proactive rather than reactive. We need to get the working party underway that we undertook to do at the AGM. We need to get the support and guidance for the Architects Declare initiative underway, as again we undertook to do. You don't need me to tell you that climate change is the biggest issue confronting the world and ourselves as architects. COVID has provided a distraction, but we need to refocus our energies on the threat of global warming. On that cheery note, I must say thank you to the NZAA and Rosine for the opportunity to be convener in this troubled year, and I'll hand you over to the Professor.
Ko mōtiti tuku mōtere, ko Ngāti Awa e Ngāti Rana, nā iwi, ko Stichting Bureau Architect and Register, e mā Royal British Institute of Architects, nā whare tikuira, ko What Architecture te Pakahi, ko Anthony Hoya te tuku ingoa, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. Good evening and greetings to you all. I'm honoured to find myself slightly perversely both the international and Indigenous juror on this tour. But since I whakapapa back to both Ngāti Awa and to Ngāti Rānana, or London, I guess I'm from both here and from over there. So given this paradox, I thought I'd spend the, 40 minutes? Next 40 minutes on my professorial lecture, calibrating what I've been doing in my 30 years of OE. Get ready for the visual bombardment. If you suffer from stroboscopic effects, you might want to watch out. But basically these 30 slides are my own personal and professional landscape in understanding what is architecture and what is Aotearoa. 1990, I left New Zealand during a global crisis. The Gulf War had kicked off. Airline tickets were cheap, one-way ticket to Rome. 1991, Auckland School of Architecture wins the Venice Prize at the Venice Biennale. Ngā mihi nui to Andrew Barry, Glenn Watt, Christopher Adams, Richard McGowan and Ross Jenner. 1992, I looked with puzzlement from the United Kingdom in relationship to leaky buildings. I understand it was the fault of postmodernism and Mediterranean-styled complex roofs with short eaves. Disclaimer, this building was not part of that epoch. 1993-ish, when I left architecture school, deconstructivism was the lingua franca. And so I would like to read you what the architect, Ngā mihi nui Noel Lane, says, which is an assemblage of independent elements of undisciplined irregularities. 1994, the Auckland School of Architecture preempts the Bologna Agreement by diluting the Bachelor of Architecture course into a 3-year bachelor's and a 2-year master's. Realising I'm now underqualified, I attend the Bartlett School of Architecture, where I meet this chap, Philip Johnson, who says that an architect or young architects need an Auntie Matilda, which is code for a patron, or marry wealthy. And I'd like to ngā mihi nui to my own Auntie Matilda, Matilda Phillips, who's in Auckland with my Architecture Design 2 studio. Kia ora. 1995, the America's Cup is now New Zealand's Cup. And wanting to keep a connection back to the country, ngā mihi nui Peter Townsend, we embarked on a scheme for a recycled oil rig, upskilled as a floating spectatorship, where you could fly in and get the monogram velvet slippers not wet. 1996, as on the tour, we flew over Motiti Island, where I'm hail from, and that was my first built project. And that's moving the materials to site. Ngā mihi nui Aubrey Hoete, and ngā mihi nui Roy Hoskins for Whare Māori. 1997, at 328 metres in height, the tallest freestanding structure in the southern hemisphere is completed in Auckland, and immediately comes an icon. Sky Tower is done. One of the great benefits of this current tour, I went for the first time to visit this housing project, which is not a housing project, as Michael tells me. It's the Erskine building at the University of Canterbury, which is completed in 1998. And Michael asked me that in 3 years' time, it's ready for an Enduring Architecture Award. 1999, Linda texted me today when I was struggling to think what happened in 1999. Well, obviously Prince. And Prince, who passed away in 2016, my cousin, Mr. G, who's the graph artist, goes to Minneapolis and does a spray of Prince. And of course, we happen to meet, Jasmax happens to use Mr. G in both their projects, the Western Springs College and Waikato campus in Tauranga. 2000, let's see what was happening on the other side of the world. The Dutch, which I'm registered with, decided to build 1 million houses in the 10 years in the run-up to the millennium. The British built a tent. 2003, I better get registered. Once I left the Netherlands, the word architect spelled with a C is protected, but luckily in the Netherlands they spell it with a K. So the only way to get registered in Britain is to take out British citizenship, as the Auckland qualification is deemed worthless. 2004, ngā mihi nui to Bill Murray, who publishes this treatise on Māori architecture. 2006, I don't know what happened in 2005. 2006, that's my father and my son on, that's exporting the latest in Kiwi construction technology to the United Kingdom, painted concrete block. 2007, I joined as Britain's leading Māori architect. The Hinamihi project, which means 13 years of no fees. 2008, what architecture completes the Guinness record for plastic interlocking bricks in an in-situ educational building. 2009, Ngā mihi nui Deirdre Brown, who publishes a book of Māori architecture. When I was at architecture school, it was easier to study modern Italian architecture than to learn about a whare. 2010, one of the points I noticed on the tour was that the architectural awards process meant that you could lobotomize the interior of a building from the exterior. And here's a precursor to this, is in 2010, Warren and Mani won an interior award for the Supreme Court of New Zealand. I won't show you any photos of the exterior. 2011, perhaps the most disturbing effect of the Christchurch earthquake is not the damage to the cathedral or Shigeru Ban's temporary cardboard edifice, but the fact that at the time the earthquake hit Christchurch, it was New Zealand's second largest city, and in the vacating of people in fear, it shrank to become New Zealand's third largest city. 2012, Ngā mihi nui to Linda Simmons, and along with Sarah Treadwell, Megan Rule and Julie Wilson, established Architecture and Women as an incorporated society. Today they have 863 members, which I think probably competes soon with the NZIA. 2013, meanwhile, back over in London town, the latest in Kiwi DIY skills mean that the Britain's sole Māori architect responds to the housing affordability crisis by setting up Watt Developments, and on a bunch of credit cards buys a railway station. Income generating hot tub cinemas and raves ensue to offset the development finance interest charges. When I asked my students what their favourite building was in New Zealand, they said the Len Lai Centre, and that's rather apt since Len was born here in Christchurch. 2015, of course, Ian Athfield dies, as does Riwi Thompson, and such was the popularity of his own home that Buffett and Thompson's claimed that they had 298 groups, 42 viewings, and 29,000 listings on Trade Me regarding the property. 2017, a 5-article kawanata or covenant is formalised between the NZIA and Ngā Aho, which will embed, amongst other things, mataronga Māori within the built environment. 2018, I can announce that Hinamihi is coming home after some negotiations with the Prime Minister's Office, the National Trust, and the organisation which I lead in the UK, Te Maru o Hinamihi. 2019, Te Kāhui Whaihanga is adopted as a name by the Institute, Ngā mihi nui to Hare Williams, and also in 2019, Sir Miles Warren turned 90, Ngā mihi nui, Sir Miles, and tēnā koe e tēnei ahi ahi, kia ora.
Tēnā koe, Anthony. Now, let us now begin the New Zealand Architecture Award presentations. Recipients are welcome to say a few words, but please keep your speeches brief. Some of our award winners are going to be collecting their awards in the other branches, so we'll be zooming into those branches for the presentation. And it's been going really well so far, so I'm looking forward to that. To help things along, could you please make your way to the stage promptly once your award is announced? A citation will be read during this time. Judy Keith Brown and John Gerondis are joining me on the stage to present the awards here in Christchurch. Presentations in Tāmaki Makaurau are being made by one of the Institute's past presidents, Christina van Behemen. In Wellington, the presentation is being made by Nick Bevan, an Institute Fellow and Chair of the Fortuna Trust. And finally, in Queenstown, Tahuna, one of the Institute's Distinguished Fellows, Anne Salmond. Thank you all for your commitment to tonight's awards. It is an honour to to have you all with us. We will begin with the category of commercial architecture. The first award of the evening goes to Bathroom Pavilion by Archetype. The history of architecture has always privileged rooms of grandeur: the chamber, the parlour, the library and the hall. The modest toilet never got a sniff in. But with the Bathroom Pavilion in Ashburton, architecture's nether region becomes a space that affords the traveller with not merely convenience, but more surprisingly, with delight. Congratulations.
Thank you. This is it's a huge honour to win this award tonight. We really enjoyed this project, enjoyed designing it, enjoyed the whole sort of process, and it's really gratifying to see people using the building, also having a lot of enjoying it and getting the odd laugh as well when they walk into the stalls. We had a fantastic client, fantastic builder. Neither of them could be here tonight. But I'd also like to thank the jury as well. I hope we made your gruelling trip around the South Island just that little bit more comfortable with that rest stop. So thank you very much.
The second award in the commercial architecture category goes to Fabric Warehouse 2 by Fair & Hay Architects. This expertly handled project balances contrasting elements with ease. It is simultaneously both large and small, precious and robust, and uses refined detailing with unrefined materials. Aluminium, steel and polycarbonate elements are detailed with precision, maintaining an unpretentious overall tone, while at the same time providing an unexpected grandeur not typical of raw materials. And we are going live to Tāmaki Makaurau, Auckland, for the presentation of this award by past President Christina van Behemen. Over to you, Auckland.
We've done it.
Just a quick thank you to the jury for the great privilege, but also just a great repeat client and a great brief. Thank you.
Congratulations. And the final award in the category of commercial architecture goes to Nelson Airport Terminal by Studio of Pacific Architecture. When approached by either air or road, the first view of the building is of the striking folded timber roofscape with mountains in the background. It is a bold design gesture that signifies a brave vision for Nelson. The architects have been restrained in their selection of materials, choosing to make the most out of every part of the building. The building is a delight to experience and a celebration of the character of regional New Zealand. Kia ora, congratulations.
I'm Evgen Novak from Studio Pacific, and I can say it's been a real pleasure and a real privilege to be working on this building. And we're delighted to be standing here, but I'm going to let Paul Steer, who's Nelson Airport Limited's chair, talk to how we got on. Thanks.
Tēnā koutou katoa. 6 years ago, we decided the terminal in Nelson was getting a bit shabby. It had been opened by Wallace Rowling in 1995, so it was 1985 rather, so it was getting quite old. So we started on this project. We knew nothing about how terminals were built or how you went about the project. We wanted to have something that had some local content in it. We wanted something that was functional, that was future-proofed, and given that we're in the aviation business, that mitigated as much as possible the carbon that air travel generates. Whilst we wanted local, we also looked a little bit beyond, and Evston and Studio Pacific had done the windward-leaning control tower at Wellington Airport, so we figured they knew something about airports, and indeed they got the draw. So 5.5 years later, they still stand beside us. One of the backstories is, of course, that We have a terminal that congregates, on average, 5,000 people a day, the biggest congregation of anyone in the region. And we need to make sure that it was a seamless transition. And indeed, it happened overnight to the first stage. And all our commuters and the meeters and greeters and the like wowed the new terminal and saw no difference in the functionality of the terminal. So thank you to Evans and the team. We have something that the whole community is very proud of in Nelson. Thank you to the Institute. I note 115 years old and getting better and better, and long may it continue. And to the judges, thank you against the challenge for your enlightened adjudication. Kia ora, everybody.
Congratulations to you all. The next category is education, and there are 2 awards in this category. The first winner is University of Waikato Tauranga CBD Campus by JazzMax. This project is a game-changing university building that gathers diverse faculties spread around the city into a new purpose-built home. The design was carried out in full partnership with Ngai Tamarawaho and artist Whare Thompson and integrated with Tauranga's council streetscapes works. The clear articulation of the building layout, integration of artworks and the heroic interior spaces and exterior courtyard art there have created an inspirational learning environment. JazzMax are in the ASB Waterfront Theatre in Tāmaki, Makaurau for this presentation. Kia ora, over to you.
Kia ora tātou, no ko Neil Martin, toku ingoa. It's a pleasure on behalf of the architectural team to accept this award from the NZIA and colleagues. I think it's some testament. We've got a few number of our team here with us today. We hope there'd be a few more. We have 4 from the University of Waikato here, and Alistair Jones will speak in a minute. But unfortunately, 2 from the Mana Whenua no Tamarawaho couldn't make it today without their sharing of their taonga and korero. The project and the outcome wouldn't be what it's become. So thank you again, and I'll hand you over to Alistair.
Good day, everybody, and thank you very much for this award. It's a real pleasure to be here. And I think one of the things, we were really challenging clients. We, I think, pushed the boundaries. This is a community-initiated project in a city that never had a university. And we need to start, it was funded by the community in part, but we had to start with the local hapu. We had to start on the Huria Marae and expand out to Tauranga Moana and embed that within the whole campus. But it had to represent the whole of the community. It had to represent all Aotearoa and be an international and global building for students. So we want to create a campus in one building in about 10,000 square metres, and we wanted social learning spaces, we wanted a noho marae, and to do that we really pushed the boundary, and I think what's been created is a fantastic result and is a celebration of New Zealand architecture. Kia ora tātou.
Ka pai kārawe. The second award for education goes to JazzMax for Western Springs College Ngā Puna o Waiorea redevelopment. The Western Springs College Ngā Puna o Waiorea campus arranges its learning spaces openly around a multi-storey atrium, activated by projecting meeting rooms, crisscrossing stairs, and most crucially, teaching teams that are configured to meet the ever-changing requirements of the school's students. The architecture thus has responded impressively to the school's pedagogical approach and to an extensive process of community engagement. And we are going back to JazzMax, who probably haven't even got off the stage yet, for the Western Springs and Tāmaki to receive their award. Over to you.
Kia ora. It's a different crew from JazzMax, but I've only got a couple of little things to say. One is obviously thank you to the Institute and the judges and everything else. But I just want to share a little comment from my daughter when I sort of said there's an award for architecture, and she asked me, she goes, well, how do you actually work out what to make and how to make a building? And I thought that was quite a profound sort of comment, and I had to go back to her and say, no one person actually does this stuff. It's an incredible process of collaboration and integrating and working in big teams of people. And this project was a 7-year journey and involved, an incredible number of people through that journey. And throughout, there was always a sort of a wisdom that was gained early in the project about sort of regenerating a place for a school that was built on a landfill. And that became a bit of a mantra through. I'll pass on to Ivan, who's the school principal, and he can share a few more thoughts. But thank you very much. It's very, very humbling to get this. Thank you.
Kia ora tātou. I'm Ivan Davis, the principal at Western Springs College. I think I have the best job in education in New Zealand. I want to thank the New Zealand Institute of Architecture for recognising what is truly an outstanding facility. We started off with a very simple brief with JASMAX. We want something extraordinary. And in the complex of 5 buildings that have been delivered, we have the most extraordinary educational establishment in New Zealand. The ability of our students to flow in between areas, the ability of our students to work in ways that suits them the best, means that my job amongst a group of 1,708 students has become much, much easier than ever it was in 81 individual classroom spaces. I want to acknowledge particularly the work of Justin, Hamish and Mei Ling at JASMAX Architects. I want to acknowledge the support of Ro Hosking and Graham Tipani, Mano Whenua, for some of the design elements that you can see in the photographs as they're presented to you. And I want particularly to acknowledge the outstanding efforts of Downer's construction team in building, as I say, which is the most extraordinary outcome that we could ever have dreamed of. Thank you very much.
That's my children's school, but they left 2 years ago. Damn. The next 2 awards are for enduring architecture. These awards acknowledge buildings that are 25 years or older, whose design has stood the test of time. The first Enduring Architecture Award for 2020 goes to Jellicoe Towers, 1968, by Alan Wilde. Impossibly slim and elegant, somewhat like its architect, Jellicoe Towers has been an imposing presence on the Wellington skyline for the past 50 years. Alan Wilde was for many years Dean of the University of Auckland's School of Architecture. Like Jellicoe Towers, all his buildings were perfectly formed and are worthy of close inspection. 1 generous apartment per floor provides Jellicoe Towers residents with outstanding views and daylight. The story is told of the architect standing atop the just completed 18-storey tower during the Whaihanga storm of 1968, when winds reached 185 kilometres per hour. Architect and building both survived. Alan Wilde passed away in February last year, aged 91. His daughter Jane and son Max Wilde are with us tonight in Christchurch to accept this award. Kia ora.
Ahi ahi pai, good evening. I'm Jane, I'm the middle one, and Max is in the Waitaki Valley with us in spirit, and I'm delighted to accept this award on behalf of the Wilde family. There's a number of whom who are attending in Auckland and Wellington as well, so shout out to Emma and Harriet. Dad would have been tickled pink. I can imagine he might have adapted enduring to enjoying architecture. We saw Jellicoe Towers come into being from across the road in Dad's office at Williams Construction on Plymouth Steps. And then we stayed there on the terrace when our Drawbridge grandparents moved in 1968. And it was elegant, audacious, and modern, outside and in, and it still is. That's enduring architecture at work. So nice work, Dad, and great thank you to the NZIA.
Thank you. The next award for Enduring Architecture 2020 goes to St James Church, Hastings, 1963, by Len Hugebrug. St James's Church in Hastings demonstrates the power and particularity of the architectural section. From the exterior, a vertiginous clerestory leads one to believe the interior volume to be semi-gabled and asymmetric. While this is true of the space around the side-lit and shadowed sanctuary, the addition of a lean-to transept yields symmetry to the nave and brings to the architecture a soaring Gothic quality. With this deployment of gable as arch, Len Hugebrug renders a New Zealand contribution to ecclesiastical space. John and Andrew Hugebrug are here tonight to accept this award on behalf of the late Len.
Just a few words. Thank you to the NZIA. Unfortunately, Len isn't with us now, but I think there's a couple of things that, if he was here, he'd like to say. The thanks to the Waipu Diocesan Trust for initiating the project, and a big thank you to the Helena brothers that were involved with the construction of the building. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next award category is Heritage. There is one award, and it goes to Hawke's Bay Opera House by Dave Pearson Architects. The rich, deep reds of the restored auditorium of the Hawke's Bay Opera House improve one of New Zealand's most significant theatres, designed in the early 1900s by Henry Eli White. Extensive seismic upgrading has been discreetly incorporated into the existing fabric of the fully refurbished building, and a new raised roof is confidently handled on the Spanish Mission exterior. At over 100 years old, this survivor of the 1931 earthquake has been restored with additional splendour. Kia ora.
Unfortunately, my clients couldn't make it here tonight, so you've just got to put up with me, I'm afraid, and it feels a bit lonely over here as well, but never mind. The Hawke's Bay Opera House, or HBOH for short, really is an amazing building, and as a heritage architect, it's always a privilege on working on a building such as this. I also marvel at the skill of an earlier generation of architects who could visualize a building without things we now take for granted, such as 3D modeling and the like. The building we're in is obviously the work of another architect with that ability. The architect for the Opera House was Henry White, who began working live as a builder, a bricklayer, a joiner, a plumber, before beginning his career as a designer of theatres. He went on to design nearly 100. Unfortunately, very few of those have survived. He was reputed to have made around £1 million in fees, but died almost penniless after a series of failed commercial ventures. Maybe there's a lesson there. The Hawke's Bay Opera House dates from 1915 and was designed with a Spanish Mission exterior and a lavish Art Nouveau interior. It is listed as Category 1 Historic Place by Heritage New Zealand, who described the theatre as probably the largest and most complete example of its type in New Zealand. Although damaged in the 1931 Napier earthquake, it was one of the few buildings to have survived in the area. Napier, as we know, became an Art Deco city. Hastings, the Spanish Mission style is more prevalent, And whether that was paying homage to the Opera House or a coincidence, we don't know. So the project to upgrade the Opera House began as a structural strengthening exercise. We were then brought in to patch it up again and to make good where the structural work had occurred. From there, it developed into a complete refurbishment of the building. People to thank. First of all, the Hastings District Council for entrusting me with this commission. Secondly, Heritage New Zealand, and in particular, Alison Dangerfield from Wellington, who was very supportive of the project and who let us design an entire new roof to finally stop the building leaking. So they're not always the bad guys. A project like this requires an amazing contractor. Gemco Construction were the main contractor, and Eddie Holmes, the site manager extraordinaire. Without him, it could have been a whole different project. I'd like to thank my office team, who are probably looking at this in Auckland at the moment. And in particular, Brent, who looked after a lot of the less glamorous stuff, like kicking out the water. Finally, thanks to the NZIA for the awards program and the jury, who deemed this project worthy of this award. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
There are 5 awards in the housing category, and the first award goes to Bowden House by Belinda George Architects and Mandino Design in Association. As architects, we are rightly enamoured of geometry, but regular forms can bring their own problems. At this house, the possible tyranny of the perfect semicircle is neatly subverted by the casualness of the spaces created under the sheltering roof. Deliberately turning sideways to the view, the house wraps around a circular court enclosed by the house and a stand of trees to create a relaxed yet ordered environment for holiday gatherings. Belinda George and her team are in Tāmaki Makaurau for this presentation. Let's cross live now.
Kia ora. Many thanks to the NZIA and the judges for picking this project. I'll keep this really brief because I know Tom wants to say a few words. But there were 3 people that I really need to thank for their contributions. Firstly, Mandino Design, who are a Whangarei-based company who completed the consent documentation for me. A big thank you to Simon and his team. Secondly, my sincere thanks go to Pete Brown, who's standing beside us here, and his team of very committed and competent builders who went the extra mile to make the house the best it could be. Good job, Pete. Pete and I realised early on in the project that not only was this an incredible site, but also an incredible opportunity for us both, which leads me to the last and the most important person, my client, Tom Bowden, whose ability to step back and let us do our jobs, whose deep connection to the site, and whose passion and commitment to the project meant that the process was enjoyable for everyone involved. Many, many thanks, Tom.
Well, thanks, Belinda, and yes, it has been a marvellous project, and the teamwork amongst the 3 of us, Pete Brown, best builder and for miles around, and his team who just dealt with everything perfectly. Every board on the veranda had to be cut into a perfectly symmetrical shape to meet the circular requirement. The basic design of the house incorporated the site, which was a natural bowl above a circle of native trees. The idea was to incorporate the design of a marae with a living area in one end and bedrooms and facilities in the other, and to incorporate the relaxed verandas of my favourite Georgian Gothic colonial houses of the early missionaries. The lovely veranda where you could enjoy the Northland sun without burning yourself. And so the whole thing's just been really good fun. And Simon Mandino, really kicked in. Great guy and a great team. So Just a couple of things that really I'd like to say tonight I heard from the speakers that I thought were really pertinent and relevant to this. So with Bill Allington's Distinguished Fellow's comments about integrated model of architecture with architect and builder working closely together. Builder at the helm, architect, I think were his words, architect overseeing and working together. And we really saw that at every stage. I mean, the decisions were made along the way, but right from the design through to the execution, all the details, these two worked together and teams of subcontractors very, very well. I also noticed the comments of Fiona Christella saying, that a building has to be something of beauty that fits perfectly into the landscape, and that's exactly what we got. And thanks very much for recognising the effort, and really appreciate it. Cheers.
The next award for housing goes to 10 by 10 House by Patchwork Architecture. Defiantly perched on a Wellington cliff, this is a playful and optimistic house. A rigorous grid was the starting point for efficiency and spatial order, and a platform for creative planning. Generous amounts of livable exterior area have been carved out of the site, and stairs are barely noticeable. The rooftop terrace with its private bus stop and a splash of yellow celebrates the fun in architecture. The 10 by 10 house is an inspirational, functional and hugely enjoyable family home. And we will cross live to Pōneke, Wellington, for the presentation to Patchwork Architecture.
This is the first time Patchwork has entered the National Awards, so we're really thankful to the jury to be ending up standing up here tonight. I'm really standing up here instead of Ben, who should be accepting this award tonight. This project was his baby from start to finish. But also thank you to our wonderful clients, Adam and Alicia. And I was saying to Adam earlier that as architects who deal mostly in residential things, some of the highest praise we can get is being engaged by a builder to design their own house. So I might let Adam talk about what that process was like.
I have the privilege of living in this house, and I also had the privilege of building it. And I guess I just want to thank Sally and Ben, my good friends, for helping us out with this. And we work together on lots of projects, and so for them to over deliver on our one was really cool. So thanks heaps. Yeah.
The next award in the housing category goes to Whaihanga by Patterson Associates. This building is the house manifest as roof. Consider a 60-metre glulam timber structure nearly as long as Eden Park's rugby paddock is wide. This massive overhead roof slab levitates so as to cunningly hover a mere 3 metres above the single level of naturally lit living. Pause, too, in order to appreciate that the roof depth is the same as the height of the living space below. A solid, compressing void. Imagine, then, how this roof oversails the interior by 5 metres to create a panorama engulfing Motutapu and Rangitoto and the Motuihe Channel. Patterson Associates are accepting this award from Tāmaki Makaurau. Nau mai, hara mai. Kia ora.
Thank you very much. I'd like to, first of all, thank our great clients, John and Francis, who you very occasionally come across clients who lead by just encouragement all the time. And it was so good to have that. I'd like to thank our interior designer, Jenny Anderson, who's our client, really our client representative for the project, Steve Thorne from Thorne Dwyer Engineering, and Mike Todd and Tim from Atomic Builders, who are here tonight, and who did a magnificent job on this house, a really magnificent, beautiful job right the way through in record time with record quality. And of course, we could all have a game of rugby on the roof, which we haven't yet. Thank you also to our hugely talented team at Patterson's who collaborated really well and refined this really big, complex house down to its most simple, the most simple expression we could dream of. Cheers.
The next award for housing goes to Parnell House by Stevens Lawson Architects. Like the Smithson's 1956 House of the Future, the plan form of the Parnell House attempts to liberate domestic facility from the prosaic orthogonal demands of the house through a flowing sequence of functionally fitted pocket spaces. The interior scenography of the ground floor is particularly striking. Its passages are reminiscent of a Greek island townscape. One meanders through the small streets of the house, guided by smooth, white, curved walls, which seamlessly engulf the senses. And we are crossing live back to Tāmaki Makaurau for this presentation. Kia ora.
Good evening, everybody. As a homeowner or homeowners that participate in the project, I can assure you that embarking on such a project is terrifying. You're faced with compromised home life, thousands of decisions ahead, and a vacuum cleaner stuck to your hip pocket for twice as long as the representations that are made to you. Notwithstanding that, when the pile of rubble finally turns out to look like the model that you were originally presented with, a pathway to pleasure awaits. And on that note, Jenny and I would like to thank particularly, firstly, Nicholas Stevens and Gary Lawson, theirs and our on-site referee, Kevin Kaimai, and the great support team at Stevens Lawson for their contribution and effort. And of course, excellence in design can't be finalised and materialised without the effort of a builder. And to that end, Jenny and I thank Biggs Construction, where are you boys? Modestly stuck at the back. There's twins. I thought I was getting twice the value until I realised there was two of them. Their skill and their craftsmanship and application to their job enabled the artistry of Nicholas and Gary to be materialised and to truly represent the art form that they intended. And that enabled it to be an award-winning outcome. So thank you very much, team, and thank you to the jury for having such good taste.
The final award in the housing category goes to number 3 by Studio 2 Architects. Architects' own houses are sometimes too overtly a testing ground for a myriad of ideas. But on this private garden site, we have a skillful, livable house that reflects the character of its owner architect, ordered, flexible, and cheerful. The various spaces all have their own character and materiality, but are brought together in an effortless and accommodating fashion. One can feel the ease of slipping down the driveway to the secluded encampment and imagine any number of excuses to work from home in the morning. Paul Clark is joining us from Auckland to collect his award. Kia ora.
Thank you. Kia ora, Jennifer. Thank you, firstly, to Rosine and to the Institute and to a fantastic team in the office. So we've got Ash, Leah, and BG, Brett. But who I do want to thank is my family and my client, which was my wife. So, yeah, up to you. Go.
Thank you. This is a great honour and a privilege. So firstly, let me reiterate, big thanks to the Studio 2 team. They have been amazing. For everyone out there who's an architect's partner, you will understand that when you give a brief, it's slightly different. So the thousands of decisions that the previous client referred to, Not so much. There were a lot of decisions that these wonderful people made, and the brief from our point of view, Paul and, the boys and I, was just to design a family home, a home that we would love living in. And COVID hit, and lockdown was a really tough time for many New Zealanders. And for us, it was both tough, but also testimony to the house. It was the most amazing place to spend lockdown. And I think that really represents the amazing job these guys have done. Paul, not only are you my husband of a very long time, wonderful husband, he's also father to amazing kids and I think an awesome architect. And a little anecdote at the end just to tell you in a story. Paul came home one day and we'd lived in the house maybe for about 2 months, and I said, oh, I've got a dilemma, I've got a real problem. And he looked crestfallen. He said, what is it? I said, I think I'm going to have to stop work. Having just built a new home, this was not great news. And he said, why? I said, because I just really like being here during the day and I don't want to go to work anymore. Anyway, we got over that. I now work mostly from home, which is awesome. And so we have this wonderful home. Thank you to this team. Cheers. Kia ora.
The next category is housing, alterations and additions. There are 3 awards in this category, and the first award goes to Lake Hayes Cottage by Anna Marie Chin Architects. A strong client-architect partnership underlies the design and construction of this seamless, well-proportioned addition to a relocated cottage. Subtle shifts from old to new run through the entire project. Found materials have been revitalised and recomposed alongside new elements, yielding a texturally rich result that defies any time frame definition. The single device which connects them all is a glass and timber bridge which straddles a creek and also seems to straddle time. Kia ora, congratulations.
Hi all. This is a house that was grown from an idea. It was actually a passion from the client to restore old buildings. This is where it started. She will talk more about the old buildings because that's what she knows lots about. But what we were added to was the functionality of actually living in today's life. So it is actually a collaboration between a client and an architect. It is a mix of pre-loved items like old and new, and it was how it was the applications of the material finishes and the internal finishings were put together. It's a process, we were talking about it today over a drink with my team, but it is actually a process that has come about and created something that is better than what you would have ever expected. And it is how do you describe it? It is, oh, hang on, I've got lots of notes here. I wrote them on the plane, I must say. So it is, a process of layering and discussions. It is a lot of sampling, and it is a lot of shopping, I must say. In this, I'd like to thank the builders for the craft that they put into this building. I'd like to thank the structural engineers for allowing it to stand upright. I'd actually like to thank, in particular, parts of my team, Nio Hart, who couldn't have been here with us today, Sam Austin, who did all the design, the detailing and documentation on this project, and I'd also like to thank the client for taking this journey with us. It's created something that you wouldn't expect. It is actually something that has come from the heart. So I'd like to hand over to the client, Kristen Darby.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, jury. I've had a lifelong love of cottages and old buildings and always wanted to do one up. And I found this one looking very world-weary and tired and very rotten down on the shores of Lake Wakatipu in Queenstown, sitting there. It had been there since 1945 when it was moved from Naseby, but it's over 100 years old, and it was just the first little part. And so we actually moved it off the site. I was given it because the person wanted to get rid of it. So I moved it off the site and out to my stables where I keep my horses at Lake Hayes there. and found to my horror that it was actually very, very rotten. So we actually retrieved as much as we could from it. We reused all the bits of timber that we could, and then brought in a lot of other recycled timber and things. The builders did do an amazing job, the Ross brothers, actually Dan Ross and his team, and working with Anna Marie was, I have to say, an absolute delight. We worked together on it, probably talked most days. It was an ongoing took a few years project. We had to source a lot of materials and put together a lot of different funky things for it. And the end result is a cottage that is full of love and is a lovely, beautiful home. It has a great feel, and I'm really, really happy with it, and thank you. Thank you.
The next award goes to Toto Whare by Bull O'Sullivan Architecture. The orange corrugated cladding foregrounds the house from its more reticent neighbours, and a golden welcome mat blazes out kia ora. Upon entry, an extensive whānau photo gallery illustrates whakapapa and serves as a reminder that a whare and its whānau are inseparable. And if by now it's not clear that this house is not just lived in, but loved up, experience the polychromatics of the interior, the darkened disco, the bleached bedrooms, the periscopic ply wharekai. Kia ora, nau mai, hara mai.
E te rangatira ngā mihi nui. Ngāi tahu, waitaha, māmoe, tēnā koutou. To the NZIA judges, huge ngā mihi nui from us. Tuatahi, tēnei te mihi nui, kia koutou katoa. Mō tō koutou tautoko. On behalf of Alistair and I, we wanted to give our huge thanks to all of our friends and whānau who have travelled here today, and also wanted to acknowledge those who have passed and couldn't be with us. To Michael, Melissa, Rem, Baz, Pierce and the Bull O'Sullivan team, the care, the energy and the generosity that you have given us is truly amazing. You got us right from the beginning. You helped us push the boundaries and really discover beyond today. You've been with us every step of the way, whether it's at the drawing board or on the tools. Thank you so much. To Jamie Brown and Alex Ryan from Browntown Builders, you guys hit the ground running. You gave it your all right to the end. Your dedication, your thoughtfulness, and your craftsmanship is all throughout the house. It's a real treasure and a credit to you both. The way that you treated it as your own, we'll never forget, and thank you. To Roland, thank you for your landscape design, that you've helped weave everything together, and also to holding us to account to ensure that we only planted natives, fruit and veggies. And finally, to Michael O'Sullivan. Congratulations to you, Michael. Tonight, we celebrate you, we celebrate your team and the extraordinary vision you have. The way that you bring everything together is magic. Every piece of wood, every surface, every detail. It's more than a house. It's breathing, it's singing, it's loving. It wraps around us, it tells a story, it tells a journey about the people within it. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā tautau katoa.
And the final award in the Housing, Alterations and Additions category goes to Sawtooth Apartment by Say's Studio. This addition to an existing commercial base reveals an excellent understanding and control of light. The exterior expression of the sawtooth form seems to extend and unfold unexpectedly into a lowered central section, providing light from two directions to each main space. The qualities expressed in the section have then translated with ease into the plan. Kia ora, congratulations.
Great.
I would like to thank the Institute and the jury to give me an excuse to bring out a suit. And I'd also like to thank the clients. I got really lucky on this. We started off this project with a nice level of trust. And yeah, it kind of just went from there. The great thing about this project was not only did they trust me, but they trusted themselves. Like, they drove this project very fast and very hard, and they backed themselves and they went for it. And I think the final result's really a testament to their courage. So thanks, Jenny, and thanks, Warwick, and thanks, Blair, and thanks, Kelsey. And like any project, like, you can do some drawings, but you need a good builder, and we got really lucky again. And so we'd like to thank Jared from Mastercraft Construction. And yeah, that's it. Blair's up in Auckland, and he's going to make a speech proper. So over to you, Blair.
Kia ora tātou, I'm Blair James. Henry actually reassured me he wasn't speaking tonight. He was excited when he said that I could do the honours, but a great precursor. Thank you, Henry. And I'm joined by my partner, Kelsey, and our builder, Jared. I hope you're having one for us down in Christchurch, Henry. Thank you to the Institute and the jury for this recognition. When we first met with Henry, my brief was very succinct and direct. It was, Henry, I want an award-winning home on a shoestring budget. And being young and naive and new to construction, I soon realised that's probably the same brief that every client gives their architect and builder. But I just want to say a couple of thank yous. Mum and Dad, who were up there earlier tonight, thank you for your support, love, guidance, and strong opinions. It only took us 12 attempts to get the floor plans right. It's like a game of Tetris, but we got there. And I want to thank Jared. He's a man of few words, but he's a man of fine workmanship. And without your attention to detail, and most importantly, patience, Jared, we wouldn't be up here tonight. Finally, Henry, of Say's Studio. Henry, you nailed the brief, mate. What can I say? Congratulations and thank you. Ngā mihi.
The next category is housing multi-unit. There are 2 awards in this category. The first award goes to Sky by Cheshire Architects. In this project, the real estate agent's advice on apartment sizes, always make them small, has been rendered moot by the simple expedient of not asking for it. And a 14-level office building was stripped back to its concrete frame and repurposed with a mix of generous apartments, combining the industrial aesthetic of exposed concrete with finely crafted cabinetry and service box insertions. The project was then extended by the addition of 3 lower mixed-use commercial and residential buildings. Sky is an excellent example of successful urban renewal. Cheshire Architects are collecting their award in Tāmpiki Makaurau, and we will cross live there now.
Kia ora tātou. Look, this is a really long-lasting piece of urban acupuncture. It was started by Andrew and Tim Lamont, and a huge kind of statement of faith, it seems to me, in buying a somewhat moribund tower and reworking it. And I congratulate them for the courage of that decision. And then I'd really like to thank the project team that we had from the left, Cara Hodge, Emily Priest, Ellie Green, and Pam Sando, and Callum McNaught. Huge project in 2 phases. And, you know, one has big dreams and then disappears into the trenches for about 4 or 5 years. And so I congratulate all of you for setting the challenge, you two, and for the rest of you for helping me out of a trench. So anything you want to say?
Good evening, everybody. And I'd say, wow, first of all, and that was the words that Pip Cheshire said when he first got into the tower that was built for Winstones back in the 1970s, and looked at it and saw the potential as we did. So I'd just like to thank the Institute for recognising the project. We've got a lot of happy occupants in the building now, built over 2 stages, 5 years of hard work, a great Cheshire team. Thank you very much.
The second award for Housing Multi-Unit goes to The Grounds by Peddle Thorpe. The Grounds is a thoughtfully articulated answer to the challenge of low-cost, medium-density housing in Auckland and proves that well-designed housing can elevate a neighbourhood and build a sense of community. The project is an attractive proposition that sets a benchmark for low-carbon, low-cost, medium-density living for the next generation. And we are crossing back to Auckland at the Waterfront Theatre to the Peddle Thorpe presentation.
Tēnā koutou katoa. Thank you to the Institute, thank you to Racine, and of course, thank you to the jury. This is a project that brought a number of innovative solutions to some of the challenges that we all have to face on affordability and sustainability in the context of a prefabricated building using mass engineered timber and still resulting in a beautiful building that enhances the street experience. Of course, there should be a whole bunch of people standing up here, so I'd like to take 1 second to thank the deeply talented and very committed team, Terry Barnes, Sean Belling, Lana Lay, Andy Liu, and John Berridge. Very well done indeed. Kia ora.
There is one award in the category of interior architecture, and it goes to Wyborn Capital by Bureau. A palette of subtle materials has been skillfully curated to create a beautiful space in which to work. Every detail is carefully considered, and common materials are reimagined and used in new combinations. The detailing creates a sense of richness and utmost delight at every junction. The architects have created a space where art and function meld seamlessly. And Bureau are also joining us from Tāmaki Makaurau. Nau mai haramai.
Thank you. Kia ora. Thank you to Rosine and the Institute for this award tonight and the recognition. Bureau is celebrating its 10 years of success this year, so this is a really lovely way to mark that milestone for us. And this particular client has been one of our key supporters over those last 10 years, so it's really nice to be able to have their project recognised. I'd like to recognise the creative skills and talents of our team sitting up there that help these projects come to life, and an incredible contractor, Alaska Construction, that really kind of made this project probably one of the least stressful we've ever had in our practice. It was a really well-oiled machine. So shout out to those guys. Nathan, do you want to add anything?
Only to say that in a project like this, you're kind of asking your contractors to deal with tolerances of about 1 millimetre when they want to deal to about 10. So Callum, Tom, and the team at Alaska Construction, big thanks. You made mine and Maggie's job very easy, really, when it shouldn't have been. Thanks.
Thank you.
It's lovely to hear so much praise going to the builders, because it's all very well having the plans, but unless you've got someone good to make them, right? There is one award in the category of international architecture, and the award goes to Soft Hotel by Farron Hay Architects. Despite having what TripAdvisor refers to as a post-apocalyptic facade which looks like it could collapse at any time, this project for a boutique backpackers hotel offers a sophisticated and novel account of architecture as a building site. In the spirit of Gordon Matter Clark's work on dilapidated buildings, the architects of Soft Hotel have rethought ecological culture. The project suggests that architects might collaborate with, rather than defend against, natural processes of degradation. The Farron Hay team are in Tāmaki Makaurau to collect their award.
First of all, I'd just like to thank the
the Institute and the jury for the recognition and the award. And secondly, just like to thank our client, Titus Slew, for the opportunity to work in the amazing city that Taichung is. Thank you.
We are moving on to public architecture. There are 3 awards in this category. The first award goes to Hihiaua Cultural Centre by Mola Architects. Embracing the adjoining industrial estate vernacular, this whare as warehouse incorporates a whare toi for Māori arts and craft and a whare waka for canoe restoration. As with a traditional whare, the Hihiaua Cultural Centre has what one can read as a mahau or porch, yet this porch is massive, being 4 metres wide and 60 metres long, extending along the full face of the building to accommodate outdoor social activities. And Craig Mollick is here in Ōtautahi to accept this award, and we'll also be zooming into his clients who are in whangare at the Hihiaua Cultural Centre. Kia ora.
Okay. I'd just like to say a few thanks. Thanks to the Institute, to the jury, to Resine, the sponsor. Obviously, thank you to the people up there named, but most of all, I'd like to thank a fantastic client. They've been amazing. They're a trust. They have no money, but they've managed to achieve so much. So thank you very much.
Ahoi no ka te mea tuatai ka nui hoki te mihi kia koe o tō tātou nei hunga tino a āhua, tō tātou nei pau whakaari o te pō nei. Nā reira ka nui hoki te mihi kia koe mai whangare. Tēnā koutou.
Kia ora koutou, ko Ryan Welsh Takawingoa. Just like to, first of all, just congratulate all those winners before us. And special congratulations to Pete Brown, Tom Bowden, and Simon Mandino up here from Whangarei. This is a fantastic award, and we very humbly accept it. And on behalf of all the elders who created this vision of Hihiaua, the trustees of Hihiaua, Hihiaua community, Whangarei District Council, Foundation North, the Provincial Growth Fund, and the Northland community, we graciously accept this award. Just like to say that this has been a journey over a long period of time, which has been 40 to 50 years in the making. Now, 12 years ago, Craig became involved with us, and we were just, we've been in awe with his partnership with us, and he's been on that journey for the last 12 years with us. So we're so pleased with Craig and his ability to grasp the vision of the elders. Now, that vision, of course, is not just about the physical structure, but equally about the feel, or to put it another way, the wairua. On its completion, of course, Hihiaua took a direction that we didn't envisage, and it not only addressed the creativity of what the place is, but also a gathering place for people, and it addressed a huge need for the community in Northland. So we're extremely excited now to be advancing to stage 2 and continuing our relationship with Craig. And if you're in Northland, please come and visit us. We'd love to see you. Kia ora.
Kia ora, tēnā te mihi kia koutou katoa. The second award for public architecture goes to the Chapel of St. Peter by Stevens Lawson Architects. This chapel for a boys' high school provides a spiritual moment of refreshing lightness and softness. Guests are welcomed in and then experience a spatial compression at the point of entry. Once you're inside the main assembly space, the architecture slowly reveals itself. Light and materials are used with utmost skill and restraint, and the chapel achieves a remarkable spiritual sense through simple and subtle moves that impart maximum effect and meaning. We are crossing live back to Tāmaki Makaurau for this award acceptance by Stevens Lawson.
Tēnā koutou katoa. My name is Hayden King and I'm the Associate Headmaster of St. Peter's College. Gary has told me he doesn't want to speak, so I don't know whether that's a hospital pass or whether he's being polite. Listen, the building that you have seen is something that St. Peter's College has been waiting for many, many years. And I guess the important thing is that this was an opportunity to construct something that would represent the heart and soul of the college. There was an opportunity here to inject beauty and transcendence into the daily lives of the members of the community. And I guess when you look at something like a church, well, temples and churches are one of the oldest art forms that are designed specifically to elicit a sense of wonder and beauty and awe. And I have to say that that is quite an ask to do at a school with 1,350 adolescent boys. But I have to say that they absolutely did it, and our community is completely delighted with the result and mission accomplished. We have, because of this design and fantastic build, so shout out to Aspect, a chapel that will be enjoyed by decades to come by the members and future members of our community. I would also like to point out an observation of Stephen's Lawson that to me, we saw that they placed value on both the quality of their work, but also the relationship with the client. And I think that's quite a difficult balance to get. And I have to say, Aspect, you did the same. So, to Gary Lawson, to Nicholas Stevens, to Kevin Kaimā, on behalf of our headmaster of St. Peter's College, the Board of Trustees represented here this evening, and I know from Monsignor Paul Farmer as well, an old boy of the school who helped with our fit out, we would all like to say thank you very, very much for a job well done, and you thoroughly enjoy this award, and sorry, you thoroughly should get this reward. Thank you. Thanks, guys.
They should and they did. The final award for public architecture goes to Nainai Regional Bowling Club by Tenant Brown Architects. If Santiago Calatrava ever came to Nainai, he would struggle to execute the affordable, lightweight, tensile structural gymnastics bestowed upon the Nainai Regional Bowling Club. In what may be the nation's best bowls facility, the former outdoor greens remain but are now augmented by an international-sized 2,500 square metre covered rink. The arced Xanadome is not the only Instagram moment. The bistro, RSA, and the healthcare centre all get their rub of the green. Congratulations.
Tēnā koutou katoa i tēnei pou. Anō te pai, ki te noho, ki roto i tēnei whare whakahera. Nā mātou, te whewhi, kia riro i te tonga nei. I nā kai whakawā me te Kāhui Whaihanga. Tēnā koutou katoa. This project was a lot of fun, and I want to thank the Institute and the judges. The fun we had on it was actually about the social aspect. The client, our clients were the Hutt City Council, and they decided to put two lawn bowls clubs together, sell one and redevelop the other. And in so doing, they created this community facility, repaired a derelict site, and actually have created a regional sports centre. So it's been a pleasure to be on that journey with them and rejuvenate that part of Nainai, just across the road from Resene. So a few quick thank yous to our team. Linda Wong was our project architect, Morris Pipson, our detailing guru, Hawkins for construction along the way, taking us through some challenging times, and to the rest of the team who are in Poniki tonight, Rayton Associates, E-Cubed, and the Tenant Brown team there. Thank you very much. Tēnā koutou.
The final projects receiving a New Zealand Architecture Award tonight are in the category of small project architecture. The first award goes to Abodo Showcase Cardrona by Assembly Architects. This showroom for a timber structural and cladding supplier is a beautifully crafted display box of the best qualities of its product. Precision and control are demonstrated in the timber exterior screen as well as the internal structural framing. Experimentation with the client's various products extends through the fit-out and floorings, creating an overall effect of a precise and elegant container, inside and out. Assembly Architects are receiving this award at Amersfield, Queenstown. Let's see how the celebrations are going down south. Kia ora!
Google from Sutherland Hall, the rigour and detail that you put into it was really great. And to Bryce and Brian from Dunlop Builders, the craft is impeccable. We didn't go on site for administration. We handed them a set of drawings and they did it beautifully. Lastly, I'd like to introduce and acknowledge Dan, who's the client, who's been great. And I was watching the David Attenborough's witness statement the other night with the kids. And one of the things that he's calling for is stopping the felling of rainforests. And one of the conversations that comes up quite often talking with Dan about Abodo and the product is his dedication to stopping the cutting of old growth trees. And so I'd like to acknowledge Dan and Abodo for taking a great New Zealand resource, our pine, and with some technology creating a really beautiful product, and look what we can do with it. So with that, Dan.
Thanks, Justin. Oh yeah, you took most of my speech there, Justin. We should exchange notes next time. Hey, thank you very much for the award. We didn't go out to set out to win an award. We're very grateful for the award, but we didn't set out to win an award. We set out to set up a showcase for the way that we could bring New Zealand skills and New Zealand materials together and put it on what we like to think is a very high standard. So we've got a great team with Assembly. We had a fantastic build team with Dunlop. And of course, for us, it was all about showcasing the material. We don't need to bring in timbers from Canada or tropical rainforests. We can use our own New Zealand grown timbers and we can transform them to get a very high standard of architectural finish. So I'm very grateful to have Assembly receive that award, but also to have our own project recognised. We're very grateful for that. So thank you very much.
The second award for small project architecture goes to Longbush Eco Sanctuary Welcome Shelter by Pack Studio. In the tradition of the picturesque, an elegant canopy floats over 3 rough-hewn boxes, carefully positioned frame views. There is a certain frisson in the contrast of the techniques and tastes of leisured English travellers of the 18th century, and an environmental restoration program for the untamed New Zealand bush that helps elevate this small collection of structures into something quite special and timeless. Congratulations.
I'd like to begin by thanking Dame Anne Sarmond and Jeremy Sarmond for their never-ending optimism and faith in me actually delivering them something. I'd also like to thank Catherine O'Shaughnessy for suffering through the entire thing with me. And also Ryan Thompson for all of the tutelage. I was the designer and also volunteered to be the kind of foreman on site. And after day 2 of the build, I realized that I needed some help from someone who knew how to build things. And Ryan was that person. And he really was a huge part of that team. It's a very kind of special project for me personally. And so I really want to thank the jury for acknowledging it at this level. It means the world to me. And finally, I'd like to dedicate this to the 88 volunteers who came and swung a hammer with me. Without their generosity, this would never have happened, and I am forever indebted to them. Thank you very much.
The final award for small project architecture and the final New Zealand Architecture Award presented tonight goes to Point Wells Cricket Club by Pack Studio. Small but perfectly formed, this uniformly red building with a royal blue interior adorned with flags and bunting plays along with the charming absurdity of the activities carried out in green and white on the field it addresses. Detailing is precise without being precious, and every aspect has been carefully thought through and resolved in an unassuming manner. Nau mai hoki mai, kia ora.
Kia ora. Thank you to the founders of the Point Well Cricket Club. They asked for a beer fridge and also a shed, but we also gave them flags, which was good. Also, thank you to the builders, Lindsay Construction, who did an amazing job executing some finely crafted details. I also want to thank the PAC team, Sarosh, Rory, Liz, Kim, and Stephen as well. Also, we're having an exhibition here in Christchurch on the 27th of November. There's going to be a big party, so you're all invited if you're in Christchurch. So
That is such a lovely party house. So that brings us to the end of the first part of the award presentations. Thank you, Judy and John. Thank you very much. Please join me in congratulating all of the New Zealand Architecture Award winners all over the country. The final 4 awards to be presented tonight are the special named awards, and I would like to ask Michael Thompson and his fellow jurors, Linda, Fiona and Anthony, to come to the stage, and they will each announce one of these significant awards. Kia ora, nau mai, hara mai. The John Scott Award for Public Architecture, the Ted McCoy Award for Education, the Sir Ian Athfield Award for Housing, and the Sir Miles Warren Award for Commercial Architecture signify the achievement of excellence in their respective categories. The Sir Miles Warren Award for Commercial Architecture recognises Sir Miles Warren's long record of high-quality work and his generous contribution to the profession. Would you please welcome Fiona Short to announce this award?
The 2020 Sir Miles Warren Award goes to Nelson Airport Terminal by Studio of Pacific Architecture. Nelson Airport Terminal is a great hovering timber tent that celebrates the excitement of air travel. The building is an exemplar of passive environmental systems, and the architecture is a testament to what can be achieved with a strong design team using an integrated design process. Nelson Airport is set to become a defining moment for Nelson and for New Zealand regional architecture, and an attraction in its own right.
Kia ora tātou. I'd like to begin by saying we're really pleased to be standing here with the Sir Miles Warren Award. It is something not entirely that you would expect to happen when you start on the journey. And our journey started in 2015 when we came to talk to Nelson Airport and talked about a sense of place using local materials and sustainability. And we're delighted that we have a joint vision that we're able to carry forward into the building that's there. And what I'd like to do is thank the people who've helped us along the way, particularly the low carbon part of the building is the timber structure, and the structure sings because of the work of Dunning Thornton, and in particular Alistair Cadillac and Jamie Whitehead. It's a naturally ventilated building for the most part, and I'd like to thank Paul James and his team at, he's still sitting down, at E-Cubed, who helped us deliver that. It has the craftsmanship that you'd expect with timber, and that came from Gary Davidson and team at Gibbons Naylor Love. And there are some pretty close tolerances and rather difficult pieces to put together to make the roof. It was extraordinarily well coordinated by Matt Griffin at Aeschylus. And last of all, I'd like to thank the team who were with us in 2015 and who are with us on stage now, and that's Sam, Simon, Sarah, Juliet. And without the dedication and the effort, we wouldn't have what we'd have. And a big thank you to the jury for recognising us, to Te Kāhui Whaihanga for looking after us, and that's all of us as architects, and to the rest of the Institute. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Kia ora. The Ted McCoy Award for Education recognises the best work in an important category of architecture and acknowledges the career of Ted McCoy, who designed buildings which exhibited qualities of integrity, resonance and endurance. Would you please welcome Linda Simmons to announce the Ted McCoy Award.
The 2020 Ted McCoy Award goes to Western Springs College, Ngāpuna o Waiorea redevelopment by Jazz Max. Can you place 1,400 students in one large space and conduct 40 different classes at once? In the main building of this rebuilt high school, evidently you can, and that is not to mention the activities in the library and a slightly separated gymnasium. Incorporating Waio the Te Reo Māori Immersion Unit and the Whare Tapuri multi-purpose performance space, the redeveloped Western Springs College Ngāpuna o Waiorea is a great human arc setting sail into the future of education. The architects have responded to the challenges of the innovative learning environment and the process of cultural and community engagement with a high degree of skill, craft and patience.
And we're going to cross over to Tāmaki Makaurau to join Jazz Max and their clients. Kia ora, everybody.
A school without walls, a school without classrooms. Our students call it a 21st century Hogwarts. As I said before, a truly amazing environment in which to work. I think it was Churchill that said, first we shape the buildings and then the buildings shape us. And certainly we, as teachers working in this environment, have noticed our discipline issues and our problems with kids disappearing before us. The students have commented to their parents that now that the building is finished, Mr. Davis has got nothing to do, so he just walks around the school all day. And the visibility that all of the students and the teachers have in the facility is one of the standout features. I've changed my job description from principal of a high school to tour guide, and on the group tours I take through the facility, and by the way, you're all welcome at any time. On the tours, I'm able to point out to the visitors, you show me a kid that's goofing off. You show me a kid at the back of the classroom throwing paper darts or chucking paper balls around. Spot the teacher, because the teacher's not there in front of the class, but down with their sleeves rolled up, working with the kids in true collaborative style, which is, of course, what every employer tells us they want from young people today. The ability to work in teams, the ability to work together, the old adage of two heads being better than one. I thank again the NZ Institute of Architects for recognising Western Springs College Ngāpuna o Waiorea as a school of the future, and I particularly acknowledge the work of Jazz Max Architects in delivering that for us. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Ivan, for that. Also like to thank Downer Construction for doing a great job of building the building. And Jeff and his team at the Ministry of Education. These things don't just happen though. There's been a huge team of people involved, and Justin, Mei-Ling, Kate. There's a lot of hands that have been involved in this project. So look, thank you very much to the sponsors and to the Institute. Christina, thanks. Cool.
The John Scott Award for Public Architecture honours the memory of John Scott, a New Zealand original and an architect's architect. Michael Thompson will announce this award.
It's like the Oscars, I feel I should have an envelope to open or something. The 2020 John Scott Award goes to the Hihiawa Cultural Centre by Moller Architects. On a budget less than the average holiday house, the architects have created a heroic building around an existing boat shed using modest materials in a carefully considered manner. A canopied walkway deck that recalls, if not in its materials, then in its majesty, the Uffizi Gallery in Florence, links the straightforward and robust Whare Toi exhibition spaces, carving workshop, and the Whare Waka. This is a building that showcases the arts and craft of all the local iwi in a truly open and public manner with respect and dignity.
Look, thank you once again. They've been an amazing client, and it's just been a privilege to be involved. I like to say that I've just assisted them with their vision over the last, for us, 12 years. There's probably some other people I should thank. I should thank Mum and Dad. I think they're in Auckland, hopefully listening to this, so look, their support's been amazing. And I should also thank Margot, Harry and Claudia, who are probably at home, my family, and supporting me all this way. So thank you very much.
The Sir Ian Athfield Award for Housing. Oh, we are going to whangarei. Oh, nau mai, hara mai, nau mai hoki mai. Kia ora.
Waino, e kia nei te kōrero. E hara te rākau I whakaaro, engari, ko te tangata I whakaaro. Implying, it's not until the building is imbued with the spirit of love, of humanity, that it begins to become a living entity. When e taku mihi kia koe, Craig, kia koe me tō whānau, tō matua hoki ka Gordon, kānui hoki te mihi.
Kia ora anō. Being chosen for the Regional Architectural Award, then the New Zealand Architectural Award, and then of course receiving this award, the John Scott Award, is amazing. We are truly humbled, and very hard to find the words. Just to Craig, thank you very much for all your support and your help. You helped create this vision that we have here, and we just love the energy which this place has created. I'd just like to also thank our builders as well, ARCO. I forgot to mention them last time, and also a special thanks to the jury and the New Zealand Institute of Architects for recognising Hihiawa for this award. Kia ora.
Mō taku he whangarei, ko wariwiri au, ka hariki a kia koutou I reira, nō reira, mō taku he. The Sir Ian Athfield Award for Housing acknowledges the career of Ian Athfield, who had a great understanding of the ordering of domestic life and most other architectural issues as well. Anthony Hoete will present this final named award. Kia ora, nau mai.
Tihe Māori ora. The 2020 Sir Ian Athfield Award goes to Toto Whare. This is a whare so infused with aroha and manakitanga that it hits you like a korowai. The whare comprises a beautiful and magical series of spaces with materials and colours attuned to differing functions but woven into a true home and unified whole. Constructed and finished by the owner and his builder mates from the local football club, this house is an exemplar of relaxed Kiwi living assembled by an exceptionally gifted architect.
Fiona and Linda, Michael, Anthony, that's exceedingly generous of you. And there were some shit-hot projects there tonight. And I'm sure that Michael Joseph Savage would be putting up his thumbs as well and saying thank you for acknowledging the State House. When our dad came to this country just before the Second World War, he worked on the State House program in the Upper Hutt, and he would say that we don't know how lucky we are in this country, and we don't. For fear of sounding like Fred Dagg, we don't know how lucky we are. We don't know how lucky we are to have met the Toto family, to Linda, Alistair, Fife and Hallie. Thank you for everything you guys have done. Thanks, Mum, for coming down, for breaking your social happy hour at the home. Thank you very much to Fiona also to come down from Waihiki and bringing the kids down, and to the Institute who do such a wonderful job for us as a profession. My sister at the moment is trying to get a practicing certificate as a sole practitioner with a law society, and I've been reading the letters she's been getting. I'm convinced they've been written by the headhunters. Stick with it, Fiona, you'll get there. So we're lucky to have the Institute support. So to Tina, to John, and most importantly Darren, for what you do year in, year out and making this a fantastic event. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in congratulating all of tonight's winners. In the unusual circumstances of 2020, it is really wonderful to be able to celebrate in this fashion. E mihi tēnei to those of you joining us from Tāmaki Makaurau, from Auckland, from Whangarei, from Wellington, Pōneke, from Queenstown, Tahuna, and from Whakatū, Nelson. Wonderful to have your company. Thank you, Multimedia, for making it all happen so beautifully, seamlessly. Thank you, our jurors. If you'd like to leave the stage, you may. Kia ora. The NZIA has published a New Zealand Architecture Awards book. Please do pick up a copy on your way out, and there are also, these are also available at the other venues in Auckland and Wellington and Queenstown. You might like to take away a copy of the awards issue of Architecture New Zealand, which has been made available especially for tonight's event. On behalf of the Kāhui Whaihanga, New Zealand Institute of Architects, and Resine, thank you so much for coming. We hope you've enjoyed your evening so far. I certainly have. Please stay for a while longer, enjoy some more refreshments, and be sure to have your photo taken. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Stay safe. Kia haumaru te noho. Nō reira tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou. A tēnā rā tātou katoa. Pō Mārie. Kia ora.